It's a beautiful Wednesday morning in the city of Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and we'll begin with the front pages of the daily, starting with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with Ibom Air fracas. Comfort begins live at Kirikiri. NBA waits in. As witness what triggered rage. NBA condemns lifetime ban on passenger, pledges legal support, and alleges a breach of our fundamental rights, calls for independent probe. Disagrees with Ibom Air, AON, NCAA on no-fly live ban. Quam 1, comfort case not safe, that's according to NCAA. Peter Obi questions due process in passengers' lifetime ban. Selective justice is no justice at all, that's coming from Labour Party. Today to investigate a recent airline passenger face-off. You can see that story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper, and there are pictures here showing the NBA president, aviation minister, and also comfort. Now on page 8, Nigerian Medical Association (NMA) raises alarm over mental health crisis among doctors. Atiku, ADC condemn Tambuwal's arrest, says EFCC now political tool. Stop sulking over opposition probe. We are non-partisans. EFCC replies ADC as EFCC grants ex-Sokoto governor bail. You can see that on page 6. On page 19, NSDC seals deal with 4 new operators to produce 400,000 MT of sugar annually. Vice Presidential team out to investors. It's time to invest in Nigeria. Shore leads a protest to NYSC headquarters over unjust treatment of core member. And above the banner on page 19, we have Dangote Refinery reduces loading of price of petrol to 820 naira per litre. 2027, I won't deny Tinubu, we've been friends for 22 years, says Soludo. And lastly, on Vanguard newspaper on page 6, 16 inmates attack warders, breach a Kefi prison, 7 rearrested. Away from there, we'll move to the Punch. The Punch major headline says health sector crisis persists despite 5.4 trillion naira World Bank loans. 11 major projects got $3.527 billion in 9 years, as global lender expected to approve additional $250 million loan in September. You can see that on page 19, and there are photo stories here showing immigrants attempting to cross the English Channel of the beach of Gravelines, North France, into the United Kingdom on Tuesday. On pages 4 and 5, 30,000 naira car race bears leaves 5 dead in Ogun. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper, above the banner, Boko Haram scare. Borno villagers flee, sleep on Cameroon streets and schools. Away from the Punch, we move to the Guardian. The Guardian's leading story says outrage over Ibom Air incident. Inspector General orders Squad 1 probe. You can see that on page 6. On news page 29, court strikes out 60 billion naira criminal suit against ex-Amcom boss. Lagos moves to regulate rent, curb abuse with new tenancy bill. Gani Adams forms Kwara Achilles, lads on fresh crisis in Southwest. And lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, court sentences man to death for killing roommate over door closure dispute. Metro page 9 as that story. And lastly, the Nation newspaper says Amechi, Al Fayemi, and I began opposition coalition. We started in Nasiru Danu's house. These claims lack basis, says Ekiti governor. You can see that on page 8. Why I am supporting Tinubu by Soludo. You can see that story on page 2. Dispute over property documentation. Daniel gets restrained in order against old government. Lastly, on the Nation newspaper, above the banner, illegal 176 estate. Diaspora depositors demand refund. You can see that on news page 4 of the Nation newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies. Join us after the break for a brief analysis of some of the stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is Today News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and joining me to analyze some of the stories on the front pages this morning is Mr. Gberu Olajigbe, the Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Good morning, Mr. Gberu.
Good morning.
Yes, all right. Comfort Ibom, Comfort Bob, the Ibom Air passenger who caused a stay at the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos on Sunday, appears to have begun a new life inside the female wing of Kirikiri prison as she was ushered in at about 6:30 p.m. on Monday by police officers from the airport command Ikeja with a remand order which lapses October 6th. So what do you think about this whole Aqua Ibom fracas?
Well, let me quickly state about behaviors of Nigeria, particularly inside the plane. We hardly obey rules and regulation. And those are safety rules and regulation. When you are asked to switch off your phone, it's for the safety of everyone in the plane, whether you are crew, whether you are passengers. You have to be alive to even use your plane, this thing. We can say that, okay, in America, you can use your phone, you can use this thing, but we don't have the same planes. The technology of those planes are not the same with the one we use here, in most cases. I'm not saying in all cases. But then, adherence to rules and regulation for safety purpose is what we should begin to take serious as Nigerians, as passengers particularly, in this way. I learned that she broke that rule, which is unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. But then, after correction, after obedience to the rule, I learned that her phone was eventually switched off by the nearest neighbor. After that is done, that should have usher in peace. I wouldn't say much about what transpired in the plane, but what we saw outside the plane in terms of harassment of the lady is gruesome, even though not that sadly. It's not the sight we want to see in an organized society. The girl has breached the law. The necessary thing to do is to inform the airport security and ask them to take position because there is an offender in the in transit that we should be eventually arrested when the plane touched the ground. But that was not done. He was virtually arrested and detained inside the. She was arrested and detained inside the vehicle, arrested and detained in court by the crew. I'm not saying that the crew member has no right to do that, but there's a very good way of treating people. Even if somebody is an offender, that has not taken away our rights to human dignity. What we saw was a breach of Nigerian constitution that said that every Nigerian deserves to be respected and, of course, to be treated with dignity, even in the context of being an offender or an accused person. There was a breach in that respect. But let me equally lay foundation that we are gradually becoming a lawless nation. Lawless nation is that, for example, Adam Oshomole was at the airport the other day, allegedly that he came late. He tried to block the way where people who are expected to board planes were staying. That was highly unnecessary. He is not the first person to be delayed. He's a senator. He should have raised all these issues that we have been complaining about on the floor of the National Assembly. The unconscionable delay, unnecessary delay, profit motivated delay that is happening in aviation center. It's not acceptable. Extraordinary costs on people. For example, there was a time I was going to Port Harcourt, 2 p.m. flight. We had to go with my daughter around 11. In any way, I have to look for a hotel again that night, which would have been avoided because my friend was already waiting for me at the airport. A lot of that, severally. So the operating system, aviation operating system is something else. And it can be annoying at times. People get frustrated after you have been delayed for 10 hours, 6 hours. You get frustrated and your behavior can hardly be guaranteed if you are not a tempered person, a well-tempered person. Nobody can predict what you will do next. And recently too, you saw the behavior of Wasiu Anyide Kwamwan. It was despicable, unaccepted, irrational, irascible. And there's several ways you can qualify that, but none of them is a good recommendation.
But Mr. Guerrero, still talking about
that happened. Let me tell you, that happened. Nothing was done. Absolutely next to nothing. In fact, they were begging him instead of arresting him there and taking him to custody. They were begging him, appealing to him, where there is law, that should not be done. He couldn't have gotten away with that at Heathrow Airport. So that foundation was laid. Just barely 2 days later, Comfort behavior was not good, but he was thoroughly humiliated, which is unacceptable. That is not the way of getting person arrested and make them pay for the law, for the breach of law. That is not the way. Assuming that Oshomole has been dealt with, maybe Wasiu will not have repeated it. Assuming that Wasiu was instantly bundled out of the harm way because he wanted to commit suicide by staying in front of the plane. Assuming he has been bundled out and locked in put in a custody at the police station at the airport, maybe we wouldn't have seen that of Comfort, because people will reflect that if I do or display this behavior, you have consequences to face. So we gradually become a country of lawlessness when we don't keep to law and when you don't punish offender. And the implication of that is that you demotivate those law-abiding citizens. When you allow those who abuse their privileges to get away with it, it's another thing entirely.
Well,
I think there is...
Mr. Guerrero, you talked about how Comfort was humiliated. Now, she was stripped publicly, humiliated, and also banned indefinitely. Now, the airline, they imposed a lifetime ban on her, and now she has been remanded to October 6th. Do you think this is just? Do you think an arbitrary punishment is actually valid in this case?
That was unacceptable. It was like using hammer to kill a mosquito. So it wasn't acceptable. In fact, the action of Anyide Masha was of more consequences when you compare to what happened to Comfort. So how do you explain that in a context of equality before law, in a context of equity, in a context of justice? You can't explain that, but that has been reversed now. The Minister of Aviation has asked the case to be withdrawn, the criminal charge against her to be withdrawn from court. And of course, she will be released anytime within this week, and the case will no longer go further. And there's appeal to the operators equally to remove the live ban on her, which I think is good, but we shouldn't have gotten to that level. But what I think they should provide opportunity for the Minister of Aviation to address the issue of unnecessary delay of people. You can't guarantee anything when you get to airport in Nigeria. No matter, at times, even 6 a.m. plane, they will tell you that it's now 10 a.m. And your 1 p.m. plane shifted to 11 p.m. Unacceptable. This has consequential costs on passengers, aside from the frustration, aside from the delay, aside from missing possible vital appointment at times. So it should not be one way. All those things should be addressed so that people just, there is a lot of frustration in Nigeria enough. In fact, part of that frustration is what is making people to go to airport, because roads are not safe in most cases. That's what is pushing people. Despite the high cost of transportation, you pay, yet no peace. You pay, there's no fidelity in keeping time. So those are frustrations that should be removed. Because when we are treating those people alone, we are just addressing the symptom and everything. But then we should all be reminded that safety, security, they should be the first consideration when you get into airport, whether as a passenger, as crew member. And there's limit to which I can blame the crew member from enforcing rules and regulations inside plane. Once you are inside plane, your obligation is to obey rules and regulations. And those air hostesses and crew members, they are not there for fun. They are to ensure safety, contribute to your safety in the plane. What will it cost you to switch off your phone for 1 hour flight? Are you going to go into your grave with that thing? If there is crash, will you have the opportunity of using your phone again if there is crash? And look, this can interfere with signal and confusing air control office to the extent that it can affect you, the plane, the safety of people in the plane, especially while taking off and while you are landing. Those are normal procedure. Nobody should frown at it. That's what I will just advise Nigerians to keep the rules and regulations, not only there alone, anywhere you get to.
But Mr. Vero,
accuse those that cause delay, the operators that are unprofessional, even in their behavior and every other thing. But
Mr. Vero,
even though the criminal charges against her is being withdrawn, according to the minister, the fact is that the lady has suffered some damages to her reputation, to her integrity, to her dignity, and of course, sharing of that nude picture is a violation of her rights, and that should be addressed too. So even though you allow her to go because of you cure the criminal charges against her, then who bear the loss she has suffered? In terms of humiliation she has suffered, in terms of indecent exposure of her private parts, those are issues that needs to be addressed too. And while they are doing this, maybe equally they are looking for a way. So that, because I saw release from the Nigeria Police Force today, we have just received petition from Airport Authority in respect of Wasiu Ayinde. Was there no police there in the first place? It's almost a week now. Why are they just receiving somebody that should have been arrested immediately at that particular material time? You are receiving report now. So I'm saying that the pardon going to the lady now could be that okay, because they have what they projected before was inequality before the law.
Yeah.
That,
so, Mr. Barrow, now
maybe they wanted to erase that impression.
Now, linking Kwamwon's case to that of Comfort. You mentioned earlier that Kwamwon's case is even more serious. So, do you think the law protects the powerless, or does this incident, show glaring gaps in enforcement and procedural fairness?
That is what I'm saying. That Nigeria has become animal farm, where one animal is more equal than the other. So even what you say, the concession they are granting to the case of this lady now is the uproar that is going on. That when Wasiu did it, nothing happened. This guy did it and everything. They just want to balance the shame. The shame. That's what they are balancing. So we now move from equality before the law to equality before lawlessness. So what we have currently is equality before lawlessness, in order possibly to allow people not to criticize them in terms of favoritism. While the lady is being punished, Wasiu is enjoying himself. I think that is the impression they want to erase by the recent decision. But nevertheless, we should learn lessons. And the lesson is on both ways. The lesson is that human being must be treated with dignity as provided in the Constitution of Nigeria, irrespective of what he has done. even those who have toppled government before. During Dinka, he was treated with dignity. And he desired that, not to talk of ordinary citizens. She has been arrested, she has been decently opposed, and every other thing. It's unacceptable. It's a breach of that provision of the Constitution. So we should respect law, we should respect rules and regulation wherever we find ourselves. The rules and regulation inside play, nobody will give you the moment you disembark. And it's already written in most cases to part of the condition of granting you that ticket and issuing you a boarding pass.
All right.
So let us not begin to do favoritism with our law. And one lesson is that, how do you now arrest offender? He has not even you are reducing his own to 1 month no fly, and you are requesting that he become ambassador. Do you become ambassador because you are under compulsion? Or until after he has shown enough remorse, then he can come on their own and they can do that. You can't cure undue anger by conceding or validating such irrational behavior as exhibited by Wasiu Ayinde. And the other lady now too should learn a lesson that keeping law, rules and regulation inside plane, you avoid a lot of problems. You contribute to the safety of passengers and crew members. You contribute to the behavioral pattern of human with respect for others and respect for institutions, operators of those airlines too.
All right, Mr. Gbero, let's talk about the unfolding controversy over the arrest of Senator Tambuwal and the ADC's condemnation and Atiku's accusation that the EFCC has become politicized. Now, Atiku and ADC, they've accused the EFCC of being turned into a political tool used to harass opposition rather than fight corruption impartiality. What do you think about this claim?
The first question Atiku should have asked is that, did Tambuwal steal the money? Did he withdraw the money against Money Laundering Act? Against the operation of Money Laundering Act? Somebody stole, you are talking politics. Somebody embezzled, you are talking politics. This is how this country gets to its nail. I don't care whether it's Tinubu. Atiku should wait till when he will win the election and then put Tinubu himself on trial for stealing. That is growing country, not crying where there is corruption. Was Atiku not in this country when Matawale, that former EFCC chairman, Power, said that Matawale stole 4 billion naira, 40 billion naira. And Matawale was made a minister. Did Atiku protest? All of them are corrupt and they are supporting their own, without sparing those who are currently in position of power. But EFCC is the one that is providing this opportunity. Why? Because Beta Edu was the first example that EFCC should have made about the seriousness of Tinubu's government in fighting corruption. But where are they on Beta Edu today? The case has been thrown under the rug. And that's why Obasanjo will continue to be referred. You may say anything about Obasanjo. All those that Obasanjo arrested and prosecuted for corruption were those in his own political party. In PDP then you talk of the governor of Plateau State, it was a PDP. Well, even those he appointed himself, he removed and prosecuted his minister, Afolabi. He removed and prosecuted him, even not only an ordinary minister, his personal friend. He removed and prosecuted his general of police. Can those in power today do that? That is why they are calling it wish hunting. Do you know how many people that have cases that are pending in court that this government is not doing anything about? Orji was directed to be retried. Why has government not put Orji by Supreme Court? Today, Orji is moving about. Nothing happened to him. Akpabio, for the past, since 2015, he has been facing corruption charges. But are they doing anything about Akpabio again? Not to talk of the alleged embezzlement that he carried out at NNDC when he was a minister of Niger Delta, which provoked the off-the-mic syndrome at the National Assembly. So they are accusing him because he's not doing enough. Because most people working with him are equally corrupt. But Atiku shouldn't have done that. Atiku has not been promoting anti-corruption in the country before, by insisting that Matawale, rather than making him minister, should be facing prosecution, by insisting that Wike, rather than make minister, should be facing prosecution. Hundreds of billions of naira was alleged to have been stolen in Rivers State in 2022. And then Wike's Akata General, Fubara, was EFCC declared him wanted. They were looking for him. When Wike equally promoted, Wike did not make Fubara governor for nothing. It was to acquire immunity. So they couldn't have, Wike himself was enjoying immunity at that particular time. EFCC could not, but EFCC went for his accountant general. But today, Wike is on a ministerial asylum. Who will touch him again? How do you build a country like that? A country that where almost all the leaders are inevitably corrupt.
Okay, Mr. Gbe,
irresponsibly corrupt.
Mr. Gbe,
like they should leave. If Tambuwal is arrested for corruption, he should face it. I don't care whether it's politically motivated or not. If you stole money, you stole money. The question is, did he steal money? Did he withdraw that money? Those are the questions we should be talking about. Another whether it's being politically wished or not.
But
so when is Atiku start to get to power, he should now begin to wish on those in APC now. At least let the wish hunting continue.
Okay, like you said that, and also like ADC pointed out that the APC figures, they appear untouched while some other people are untouched. Now, so do you think EFCC now is losing legitimacy if these corruption investigations increasingly coincide with political power plays?
I've told you, EFCC lost golden opportunity in Betaidu. Betaidu was appointed minister. He was removed because of corruption. EFCC have not come up with an investigation for how long? Almost over a year now. Nothing is heard about the case and everything. That was the first litmus test for the current EFCC chairman. He floundered the opportunity. And if you don't start well, you can't progress well. That is it. And now they are accusing him of fighting opportunity. Are they not right? But if you have set example by fighting your own, then nobody will have got to say this. So Nigeria should be, these are things that get Nigeria frustrated. And this is the reason I say that don't allow anybody a future for you, that you should make sacrifice today. They are not building any future for you. That is how you waited for Buhari for 80 years. They said that he was blocking all the loophole. Not that was building new foundation for Nigeria economy. Not knowing that they were actually destroying the economy. Loophole that he was blocking, that Emefiele brazenly opened. Emefiele was a single individual under the same. Can you imagine that the hundred of billions of naira that was allegedly withdrawn by Tambuwal? Is it not the same thing that happened under Buhari, where Accountant General took 180 billion naira in the country? How can you build a country on that type of foundation? And you think you are building future for anybody? Tinubu should arrest all of them, including Atiku, if Atiku is culpable. He should arrest all of them. But when they get there, they get to power too, they should arrest Tinubu and his colleague, who they feel that's done it their own time.
So,
but I will continue to tell the story of fighting corruption. The only president in Nigeria since 1999 that tried to fight corruption was Obasanjo, and he fought it within his party. Name all those Obasanjo arrested. They were in PDP. Name all those that the minister, he disgraced his minister, including very highly rated persons of integrity, like Mrs. Grange, and Osuji. They were his minister. Can that happen under this type of government that we have currently, that are not talking about corruption? And if they talk about it, people know that they are just deceiving themselves. They are not committed to fighting corruption. So if Tinubu now decide that, okay, well, let me start from another party, let it be Wishanti. The question is that everything that Tambuwal has stolen, they should retrieve from them.
All right.
We can't have a country like this. Where is the hope? Who is building the hope? They are just deceiving the public. All of them are the same. Have you had anything from Okowa's case? Billions of naira stolen by Okowa, according to them, allegedly by the EFCC. It's not even been. What have you heard about that case again? After detaining him for 3 days, and later he joined APC. His sins are forgiven. Maybe if Tambuwal now join, his sin will be forgiven.
Well, our time is fast spent. But do you think Nigeria's anti-graft institutions can be depoliticized?
That is what is meant to be. Independent, without waiting for president to direct it. But today, they divert attention. They are not looking for a politically exposed person when it comes to corruption. They are looking for young Yahoo people, which is equally bad enough. They should treat them by arresting them according to law. But then, the main people digging the grave of Nigerians are politicians in power and out of power, particularly governors, past presidents, past ministers. Those should be the focus and the target of anti-corruption fight. And when you are able to deal with those ones, you now begin to cure the smaller one like Yahoo. Who drove these young people into that problem, to that trajectory? Is it not misgovernance? They stole, they are corrupted, they stole, through corruption, they disgrace the country, diminish institution and capacity to take care of the population, and making the younger one unemployed, almost irredeemably hopeless, and they are now taken to their to crime, which was initiated by this so-called politician. So the young one are committing the crime that the old one, the governors, the president, the minister prepared for them. So that is the situation. That is how we should handle the situation. If you deal with the head, then the tail, we be careful.
All right, let's end this on a lighter note with Mr. and Mrs. this morning. And the first person speaking is Mrs. Mrs. says, another bed, why? And Mr. replied, bed is like a football stadium. You have to upgrade. A bachelor's bed is like a practice pitch. When he marries, he buys the one for local derby. Now I'm getting an 18 by 18 feet bed. Let's play in a World Cup stadium.
I think it's good. It's a sign of progress.
Yes, it is.
Because the other room is very, very important when it comes to marriage. And the bed there should depict the success of the marriage, and at the same time, my advice is for the couple to leave the big bed undefined.
All right, thank you, Mr. Aguero, for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Yes. Do want to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. You can also visit our website www.vanguardngr